This is a story about the rainbow people of Ocala National Forest. If you're new here, my series is called Spooky Scary Storytime, and I tell user-submitted stories. Everybody who listens, so if you have a story, feel free to send it to me. This came from someone named Elena. Elena said she was basically an amateur photographer in Florida, and she became friends with this guy whose name is Tanner, but that's not his real name, but that's the name that she gave me. She became friends with him, and he was part of the rainbow family, okay? And she clarified that that is not the same thing as the rainbow people, who may be supernatural in origin. I don't really know. But the rainbow family is like peaceful. Like they just are kind of hippies, she described them as, and they just go out to the woods on occasion and they just hang out and they eat food and they bond and they love peace and unity. But the rainbow family isn't a centralized group. Like there's no central leader. It's just groups of people who believe in the same concepts of love and unity, right? So Tanner knows that she is an amateur photographer. She doesn't really know what she's doing yet. So he invites her to come to one of these gatherings. They're going to camp for like 2 nights. She's like, yeah, I would love to. That sounds really fun. So they go out to Ocala National Forest, and she said some of the people were cool with being photographed, some were not, but either way, it didn't matter. Everybody was really, really nice to her. And there was this older lady there who was like kind of the leader of this particular camp. We'll call her B. And B is welcoming, and she invites her and she's feeding her and she's making sure she's taken care of, and she's inviting her to take pictures, and she's kind of the one that takes Elena under her wing, and she's kind of just explaining their philosophy, right? So that night they're all sitting around the fire, everybody's having a good time, and they start drumming. It's a drum circle, but she said it was peaceful, it was like really lighthearted, everybody was dancing, it was really fun. And because B had explained to Elena all of the reasons that they do certain things, she's like, what's the reason for the drumming? And B says it's so we can't hear them humming, it's to keep them in check. And Elena's like, who is them? And B says it's the rainbow spirits of the forest. She's like, they're cool, we're cool, we just do this so that we don't infringe on them and they don't infringe on us. So Elena's at this point like, I don't really know this hippie stuff, but like, cool, I'm with you. She continues taking these pictures of the campfire and everything around it, right? And this is where the story takes a turn, because that night she goes to bed and people are still up. Like they're still by the fire, campfire's still going. She falls asleep. She wakes up in the middle of the night while people are still out by the fire, mind you. And she gets up to go to the bathroom, and she is walking back to the tent, and she sees this rainbow in the trees. She described it as like the glare when there's like a piece of glass that catches the light. Just a small spot on one of these trees. So she's like, this would be a really cool picture. Like she didn't know where that was coming from, but there was a body of water nearby. So she assumed that it was like the moon reflecting off the water somehow and casting a rainbow. I don't know. So she goes in the tent to get her camera. Tanner's still up, okay? He says, where are you going? She says, I'm going out in the woods to take this picture of this rainbow that's in the trees. He said, you really shouldn't do that. You really shouldn't go out in the woods late at night like this, like by yourself. And she's like, no, I'm gonna be fine. Like it's right there. I can see it. So she leaves, she goes in the forest, and she's trying to find the source of this rainbow, because every time she tries to take a picture of it, it's just not showing up on the actual picture. She said she didn't think this was anything supernatural in origin. She just thought she was not a good photographer at the time. So she's walking out further into the forest, and she's getting deeper and deeper, and she's like, wow, this is a lot farther than I thought. And finally she's standing like underneath the tree where this rainbow is cast. She points her camera up, she tries to take the picture, and it's still not showing up. So then she's like, where is this coming from? And she looks over and she sees a little glimmer of something. And sitting in the bushes, she sees a man who's holding a flashlight and a piece of glass or a small mirror, and he's reflecting it up on the trees. And she said this man was absolutely not in their camp. Now there are other groups of people, so he could have belonged to a different group of the rainbow family, but she said the way that he was dressed, it was very like scrappy. Like he looked like he lived in the forest. He had dirt on his face, he had like sun leathered skin, like he just looked like he had been outside for a long time. And as she looks at him, he points the mirror down, so now the rainbow is on the ground, and he starts dragging it to himself, like creating a path from her to where he's sitting in the bushes. And she said at this point she just screamed, and she started running back to her the way she came, but as she turned around she realized she couldn't see the light from the campfire anymore. She had no idea where she was, so she just started running. She said she ran for what felt like forever. It was probably only a couple minutes, but she realized she was lost and she had made a wrong turn somewhere. So she was running around in circles, screaming in the forest, until finally someone heard her from the camp, and she heard Tanner and a couple other people come calling for her. They ended up finding her, bringing her back to camp. Tanner ended up getting her calmed down. He said, you know, there are other camps camping out here right now. He was probably part of another rainbow family camp. B, though, the leader of this group, said no, that was a rainbow spirit. It wanted you to come closer. It's a good thing you didn't. I don't know if this story is supernatural in origin or if it was just a guy that was living in the woods and was for some reason trying to lure her out there. Either way, someone commented recently and asked for a rainbow person of Ocala National Forest story recently, and this was one of 3 emails I had about the subject. So what do you think it was?